hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is that you are tuning into this. Hi, my name is Lindsay. I am a partner success manager here at Supered, and this is our process rules camp. So while we wait for everyone to kind of trickle in, a couple of housekeeping items. The platform that we use is called Contrast, getcontrast.io. They're a great partner to work with if you need a webinar platform. A note on how their chat works. It takes about 10 seconds for it to pop up on my side after you put it in on your side on the audience chat. So I encourage questions as we go along here. So definitely don't be shy. If you have questions, pop them into the chat. If I don't see it immediately, it's probably just because it hasn't come over on the speaker side yet. Also, other notes, the super team will be off for the next 2 weeks for the holiday season. We do have people monitoring our in-app chat as well as our Slack channels, but the response times will be a little bit more delayed than what you're used to over in Slack and on the intercom chats due to the holidays. You can still absolutely ask questions if you are one of those people that likes to work over holidays. I don't judge. I'm not one of those people, but I don't judge you. So if you do have questions as you're working, ask them. You will get an answer. Just know that the response time will be just a little bit delayed. And then, see, again, guys, this is like yesterday. I should have created a card before I started this, and I didn't even think about it. It's that last week before holiday break stuff. So, process rules camp is also a little bit interactive just in the second half instead of during the entire call. You'll see why in just a second, but definitely log into your HubSpot account, HubSpot accounts and your Supered accounts. Process rules are unique in that they are just for HubSpot. So they're just for our HubSpot partners. So if you are a Supered user that's not a HubSpot partner, I'm sorry, this is just for HubSpot. So, check out HubSpot. You can use process rule, right? Right. Okay. So I think that should be every announcement. And if not, then we'll send an email. Maybe. Kidding. If there are more, you'll know. Okay. Let's talk process rules. So the way that we like to run this one is kind of start at the finish line and work our way backwards. So what is a process rule? Process rules are process enforcement. They are ways that you can flag where things have kind of gone wrong or where you want additional special attention in a HubSpot record. You want to flag it right on that HubSpot object. So for the rest of this little demo example, whatever we want to call it, I will be using sales and deals kind of as the example, but process rules can be applicable for any team that you have in HubSpot. But sales are they're so easy to pick on, we love them. They keep the lights on, we need them, but they're easy to pick on when it comes to data integrity. And you know what, though? Every salesperson I've ever run across knows that they're the problem. So it's not like this is a surprise to them. Okay, so right here is the process rules, right? So what we're looking at here is showing us there's some errors on this deal record, as well as this yellow box, which is what in Supered we call a warning. But what we have turned into a way to provide additional information here. Process rules are very powerful when you start kind of thinking about ways that you can layer your information and your best practices, all sorts of stuff within a process rule to really help your team be the best that they can be, to really excel and to keep your data clean, right? Data is king. It's how decisions are made. It's everything to a company. And so with process rules, you can create kind of guardrails, right? Where it keeps your data a little bit cleaner than, I like to call it the hope and pray method, where you train your team once and you just hope and pray that they remember, right? It's okay. Supered is here to replace that method. So if we dive right into it, we have a few different versions of what a process rule can be crafted as and look like. We like to do it from the finish line first to kind of show you what they can look like. So kind of give you the actual visual of what we're doing instead of just like a theoretical kind of thought process and then diving into what they look like. So there is method to this madness, right? So in here, I have a process rule that's telling me, my close date is in the past. That's all the information needed. I don't need to provide any other information. I don't need to attach a card that defines what a close date is. So if I come up over into that left-hand side and I update my close date, put it January 1st, my process rule will update dynamically. So it will clear it out once the parameters of the rule are met. So I updated my close date, process rule is satisfied, it goes away. So that is our, our text only process rule, for the very simple ones where it's just like, hey, go do this. You don't need to explain a process really. You don't need to give them a step-by-step guide of how to do it. It's literally just a go do, or, it's flagging saying this is missing, fix it. We also have a way that you can layer more information within a process by using a card. So there's 2 ways that you can embed a card. We talk about cards in our Get Supered 101, which happens on Tuesdays. If you weren't able to join us for Supered 101, definitely let me know. I'm happy to send you the recording for that one as well, so that you can take a look at it and do a really deep dive into cards and embedding and all of that. On this process rule here, we've got who is our competition on the deal. This is pulling off of the information on this left-hand side for one of these guys. Words are not my friend today. Wow. To be fair, this is like the first time I've had to speak out loud today. So it's 10 a.m. my time. I've been working since 7. So there's that. So who's our competition on the deal? We have this little more info sign that will pop open a card. So this is layering your information on top of this process rule, because a little bit of a deeper look into what competition means to my organization, right? So you could have pretty common words or phrases, right, that mean something a little bit slightly different to your organization than maybe they did to your, in this case, salesperson's last job. So you're able to provide that information to them via a process rule, and it gives this card for them to remind themselves of what it means. The other way that you can layer your cards with that more information on it is by embedding them into that process rule. And I'll show you both ways of how to create that in just a minute, where we have a process rule set up with an embedded card with information on it for competition questions. So maybe you have a salesperson who maybe they're a little bit new, right? They're not used to doing discovery questions. You can use the super process rule to flag on a deal when a specific competitor is indicated, or if they don't know how to kind of drill down into that information with their prospect to kind of figure out who else they're talking to. We have a way that you can layer within a process rule some sample discovery questions. I mean, these ones are just from ChatGPT, but you get the picture. So if I am that salesperson, I'm on that call, I figure out that they are talking to XYZ portal replicator, I can come in and add that in, and that will clear out 2 rules for me, because both of those parameters have been met. I found out who our competitor is. But because I did that, it served us an additional rule where it's giving us some battle cards. So found out that it's XYZ portal replicator. Now I can serve my sales rep battle cards for why this prospect should choose us over XYZ portal replicator. Okay. Now, one of my favorite ways to use a process rule is by embedding a card, but having a guide within that card itself. I'm a very tactile learner. I like to have my step-by-step guides. You can pull those out of my cold dead hands, right? So in here, I have something saying that my discount's too high. It's not going to get approved. Maybe I am a little bit new in HubSpot. I don't remember how to go in and update it. That's okay. Process rule to the rescue. I can come into this card, and we have an embedded guide on the card, and I can hit my guide me, and it will walk me through where I can fix that issue, right? So it should. There we go. It'll give you that follow the bouncing ball training, right? So if I'll follow through, I'll hit edit, I'll change my discount, and it will satisfy the rule. However, I think I embedded the wrong guide because it took me into a different deal than we were looking at. And that is a user error. We love a live user error, right? I do want to clear that error out. You know, an 80% discount, that's insanity. No one should be offering an 80% discount. We're going to update that deal amount, and then that will clear out our process rule because the parameters have been met. All right, very last way that you can use a process rule. Live demos, I feel like there's like a law in the universe that something has to go wrong. No matter what, you can know your product backwards, forwards, sideways, all of the ways, but still something will come up during a live demo just because the universe has a sense of humor. The very last way that you can use a process rule is by doing a cross-object validation. So this process rule here is telling us that my associated contact is missing a lead status. I think that this is pretty darn cool when it comes to data validation, where it's looking at, associated objects. So, we have our main object, which is our deal, and then we have our, secondary and tertiary, right, was what I like to call them. So our secondary is our contact that's associated here, and it's telling me that I'm missing information within this contact, which, maybe I wouldn't have known without diving into the contact first, but I am working, on the deal record. So I can serve the information that my organization needs me to put in here by filling out based off of that process rule that was telling me, hey, go fix this. So that's just kind of a look of how process rules, can appear specifically for sales. Yes. But as I mentioned, process rules can be applicable for any team that you have working within HubSpot. I don't know where that was going. It had a lot of promise. Where we're going to go next is we are going to pop into our Supered accounts and we're going to build a process rule from scratch. We're going to do a very simple one together. If you have like a specific use case that you want to dive into and start kind of tinkering around with a process rule, absolutely do that as we go through and talk through how to create a process rule. If you don't have an idea yet, that's totally okay. You can absolutely do exactly what I'm doing. So process rules lives in processes within your Supered accounts on that left-hand side. Important things to note with process rules. Process rules are unique for Supered in that they require to be connected to the HubSpot account that you want them to show up in. Reason for this being is it relies on the very specific schema of each HubSpot account. So you'll have a banner here. We have a few colors of it. This blue-green one means that you're good to go. It'll show up in this HubSpot account. I believe there's a yellow one that says that you have insufficient access, or there is one that says that you are not connected at all. Where you go to check this, before we even get to starting to create, where you go to check this is within your settings. So a couple ways you can get to settings is you can come down on that left-hand side down to the logo at the bottom, or into this drop down here. I like to do the drop down because it's just faster. So we're going to go to the drop down and hit connections. This will take us to the screen that tells us which HubSpot account this Supered account is attached to. If you're a Supered partner, you have the ability to create multiple accounts within your partner account for each of your clients. Each of those accounts can be attached to their own HubSpot accounts. So, client A will be attached to client A's HubSpot account, client B to client B's HubSpot account, so on and so forth. So if you have a yellow banner from that processes screen, it just means that right here, it probably says process enforcement no. So let's walk through it. When you go to the screen to connect a HubSpot account, and I'll show you, look, it's saying, I'm not connected. So let's connect. Definitely make sure that you have your process enforcement enabled box ticked. That will give sufficient access for the process rule to show up. So when you connect it, it will take you to the accounts that you have access to. I'm going to put it back into that dev account that we use. And our process enforcement is enabled. It's in this medic properties that I want it to be attached to. I'm good to go. I'm going to come back up into processes and let's create a rule together. So hit create rule. The HubSpot object, we have, your standard ones, deal, company, contact, ticket. You can also do custom objects. So we've got, commission object in this HubSpot account. I'm just going to do it on a deal. Super simple. Type of rule is the color of the banner. So if we came back into this rule right here, if I remove some stuff so we can look at it, we have our error, which is red, our warning is yellow, and our positive is green. So I am going to make it a positive. And the internal name is to keep yourself organized. So I like to use Supered as the ultimate example, right? Because Supered uses Supered, obviously. Internally, the way that we have this working is we have sets of process rules that are for our customer facing, like our customer success, customer enablement teams. And then we have some that are sales focused. And then we have a couple that are for leadership focused. And so the way that we name them is the team dash and then kind of an idea of what the rule represents. So for sales, actually, let's talk sales. For what one of our process rules that we have for sales is that, a sales dash customer enablement handoff. So when they move a deal into closed won, then that process rule will pop up that gives them kind of the checklist that they need to finish in order for this account to be passed off successfully so nothing falls through the cracks. For this one, I don't name things. I'm not clever when it comes to naming. My clever comes out in a lot of other places, mostly sarcasm. But naming conventions, not my jam. So I usually will name it Process Rules Camp and then the date so I can find it pretty easily. Your display title, what that means is if you're looking at the list view or the Kanban view, and let's do this live together, it's this one right here. So these are display titles. So we have our display titles that match the title, and then we have ones that don't have a title at all. So that's kind of up to you. It can be something totally different. You can leave it blank, or you can leave it the same as the internal name. It kind of depends on how you want it to look to either your team or your clients, depending on who you're building these for. I'm going to leave this blank. Rule text is what it describes. So if we were looking at our process rules again, our rule text is what appears right here. This is our rule text. It is not the parameters for the rule. It is just what it's describing. When I first started, I thought that it was the parameters for the rule, that if I put it into the rule text, then the rule would be built itself. Super smart. It's not that smart. So this is just what it is representing. So I'm going to say, yay, you did it. Perfect. And then a connected card. So connected card, as we went through, is going to either be this pop-up more info, or you can embed the connected card into the rule itself to expand the banner that it's in. I don't know if banner is the right word, but I'm going with it. It feels good. That is a purely, it's a cosmetic. I like to say it's a cosmetic thing. Depending on how you think that your team or your client will receive the information is kind of what it ends up being for how you want that card to display. If you have, the more information, if it's something quite simple, like just a quick definition that they don't need to keep open as they're working, because if you do click out of it, it goes away. Or, if it's in the way, whatever. Or if it's things that, need to stay open a little bit longer, then I would suggest embedding the card into the rule itself. So I'm going to use a random one that we have in this account. We have so many in here. We're gonna do one of our training grounds ones. We're gonna do our learn card. And we're gonna attach it so that we can go through how to embed it or how to just leave it as that more info. Last thing on the screen that we do have is disable rules. So you are able to disable the rules if you don't need them anymore, but you don't want to delete them, just in case you want to reactivate them like at the beginning of a quarter or something. You have the ability here to disable the rule itself. All right. Within design, that is where you decide if you want the card to be linked alongside the rule text or to have it embedded instead of the rule text. So that's this one right here, right? So embedded, linked beside. I like to embed. That's my personal opinion, personal preference. Audience, like everything else with audience controls within Supered, for your team, your internal team, you're able to create audience control for your entire team. If you're wanting to do this for your clients, they need to be on a paid Supered seat, so either Scale or Pro. And our channel team is always happy to talk to you about kind of how to go to market with that, kind of how it looks. Just for the sake of this camp, that's just kind of the high level overview of it. And then logic. Logic is where the fun starts. This is where you build the parameters for that rule. So within this, we have three pieces of logic. That's not right, but I'm rolling with it. I'm rolling with a lot of stuff today. We've got filter, which is your basic and or filtering. We have group, which is going to be your Boolean logic. So if you have a parameter that needs to have A and B be true or C to be true to be met, you'll want to start using grouping logic. And then we have our association. Association is our cross-object validation. So we've got our primary object, which is a deal in this case. I can do a cross-object association for it to pull information from a secondary or tertiary object that is missing information as well. But we are just going to do a simple one. We're going to do a filter. I'm going to do a filter on deal stage. I'm going to leave it at is any of, but we have, none of, equals, not equals, all of that good stuff. And I'm going to do it on a closed won pipeline. When it comes to anything in the pipeline, so typically it's going to be deals, right? But anything in a pipeline, you'll want to keep an eye on what pipeline it says it's which one you're picking in those parentheses. You can have this rule pop up on every pipeline you have that has a closed won stage. You just need to add them all. So like internally, Supered has a couple of sales pipelines, right? We have our net new and we have expansion. And I think that's kind of typical. So if I was working in our main account and I wanted to show up just in expansion, not in net new, then I would make sure that it said that correct pipeline in my parentheses here. All right, we're going to update my filter. And before I save and do all of this flipping between HubSpot and Supered, what I can do is I can pull the record ID from HubSpot to test this rule. So we're going to grab that number. We're going to come back over. I'm going to paste it in here. And it's going to tell me it doesn't work, right? This rule does not meet the parameters. This record does not match the rule. So it won't show up. But if I were to move this into closed one, our rule will show up. Well, it should show up. Interesting. Oh, I didn't hit save. That's why it's not showing up. But if we do that, full stages, then you have closed one. I'm going to save rule. I'm going to come back over. I'm going to look at it. This is the fun of, there it is, of process rules, right? So as you are creating them and you're looking through it and you're like, why isn't this showing up? What is happening here? Like there's a video. Then you can kind of start digging into your logic of why isn't it working? Like why? The other great thing with process rules is, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, y'all. We're killing it. We are killing it the Wednesday before a break. I don't know where that thought was going. Everything about process rules is cool. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. The great thing about process rules, if you like building reports in HubSpot, you will like building process rules. It kind of follows the same logicking, right? So if you are a big fan of reports in HubSpot, you will be a big fan of process rules in Supered. Okay, let's talk one more version of a process rule you can do. So we have this kind of purpley guy right here, right? I didn't talk about that initially, right? I only talked red, yellow, green. And so how is this purpley bluish guy showing up? That is a custom process rule. Every account, every Supered account has access to create their own custom process rule types. To do that, you come into settings. So either that drop down or you click on the logo. And when you get to your account settings, you can hit process rules here. And this is where you can create your rules, right? So like we have a bunch in here. So I'm not going to create a custom type. I'm just going to hit edit on one of these guys. because it gives us the same window, right? So if I want to change our label, which again is in that Kanban or the list view, I can do that here. And then I can add in a background color. A quick note on background colors. It is better practice to use the slider bar, or if you have your exact color, put it in. Reason for that being is we don't have a way to change the text color. So if you have your background too dark, it won't show the text because the text is always going to be black. So just a fun note from our devs. I want it to be pink. There we go. Border color does not matter. You can do the border color, whatever, because it's just surrounding it, right? And then icon, you can change the icon. The icon shows up when you have a card attached to a process rule. So if we come back into my list view, my Kanban view, this right here is the icon. It's indicating that there's a card attached to this rule. With the custom ones, you can update which icon you want it to show. If you're one of our white labeled partners, you are able to create your own custom icons. So if you're thinking like staying sticky within an account, if you can create process rules that have your icon, so your logo is everywhere that they're looking, you stay top of mind for them, you stay sticky for them. That's what that's what we want to do, right? And then you do have the ability to archive your type, right? So like we see here in my demo account here, I have many demos, many tests for custom process rule types. So most of them are actually archived. So that's how you can do a custom process rule. Very last thing we are going to talk about is keeping yourself organized with your process rules. So as you can see here, I have pages and pages and pages of process rules. So how do I keep myself organized if I want to find a specific one? First and foremost, you can tag them. We have the ability to tag. So as you know, in here, you can see we've got a process rules tag. I don't remember what we called the other one. I'm killing it. But if I wanted to tag this one with PRC, process rules camp, I'm able to. And what that does is if I only want to see the ones I've tagged as PRC, it gives us all of those rules that we've tagged as that. So it's a really powerful way to keep yourself organized. I'm going to undo that. Other ways that you can kind of sort through and bring it down is obviously like you can do it by status. So if you have disabled ones that you want to find, or you only want to see the active ones, types for that is that the color, the error, the warning, the positive, or a custom one. And then object types is corresponding to the HubSpot object that you have it built on. Tags are also very important for my super partners because tags are the way that you can get them into a package. So we do talk about Package Builder. Every Thursday, we have a camp for it where we dive a little bit deeper into it of how to add things into a package. But very quickly, I am going to pop into a package just to kind of show you what it looks like to add a rule. So if I come in and I build a package, it's via tag, right? So in this account, I only have PRC as a tag. So I can add in those process rules into a package to deliver to clients. Why this matters? Why does this matter to you? And this makes it so that you are able to create process rules just in your partner account. You don't have to go into each and every client account and recreate the rule, like redo it over and over and over again. You're able to just install it into a client account and it will be there. You don't need to recreate it. All right, I don't need this package anymore. Cool. So that's process rules. Are there questions, comments, concerns, hopes, dreams, plans to take over the world? I always like to ask plans to take over the world because if you've ever read about programmed responses in people, if you ask them how they're doing, they will say good. Does not matter. Like just good because it's programmed. But if you ask them if they have plans to take over the world, they'll pause and they'll actually think about their answer. And who knows, you might get a great plan to take over the world. Although I don't think I'd want to be in charge of the world. It's a lot of responsibility. All right, perfect. That had to have been at least 10 seconds of me yapping at you. Thank you so much for spending the last 30 minutes with me talking about process rules. If you have questions, definitely hop over into our Super Jam. Super Jam is our free Slack community. Has a bunch of partners over there. The entire Super team is there. I will drop the link to join in our chat. It is free to join. I highly recommend it. You can ask questions over there. We drop announcements over there. It's a good time. I'm over there, so if you want to DM me questions on process rules, I'm always happy to answer them. Hop on a call if you need to walk through it. And again, thank you for spending time, especially at the end of December. I understand time is a precious commodity. And of course, as always, stay strong, stay awesome, and stay supered. Bye, guys.